Hey everyone, my name is Tammy Davis. Thank you very much for joining me and welcome to Crazy Hair Day at the office. As if you're not familiar with summertime in the desert, this is what we do to keep our cool. Actually, whenever it's hot, wherever I go, I have to put my hair up. I just don't like carrying a blanket, but that's just a little bit more information than we really need to worry about at this point. I really wanted to create this video around the alchemy of wellness. If I were to basically underscore what Synergescence, my business, is about in my practice, it is the alchemy of wellness. Our current concept or our current context, belief system around health and wellness is it's kind of compartmentalized. I've talked about this in prior videos, and if this is your first time watching me, thank you for joining in. And compartmentalized wellness or health is just basically, it's very specific. You know, you do this treatment, you do that treatment. And of course, in today's age, we're trying to do as many things as possible, but that's becoming too much because even though we're doing so many different things, we're still, the focus is on what we consider to be the problem. Okay. And under the umbrella of the alchemy of wellness, which is what I practice, I pull on different aspects of, I just pull on, I don't even know what word I pull on different, I draw on different aspects of our existence. I'm going to say it that way. That's how I would frame it. And it's because everything is connected. There is no way to, there's no one size fits all. There's no one cure. In fact, nothing cures the body but the body itself. We have all these ideas that, you know, if we want to heal, we just got to take a few pills, but these pills, no pills are going to heal you. Sometimes people are successful in overcoming health conditions, but let's be real. If we're talking like things like mental health concerns, you know, whether it be schizophrenia or depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and so on, or we're talking about high blood pressure or diabetes and autoimmune disorders, people are living on medications and they're not coming off. These medications are not helping them to heal. They are basically controlling the body and attempting to regulate function in order to decrease our discomfort. But as we all know, that's not necessarily the case. We all know somebody, if it's not ourselves, that's living with health conditions, that one particular remedy, any number of remedies, is not working. We hear different people talk about it's all, you know, just control your mind, control your thoughts. Deepak Chopra has talked about mind, the mind-body connection. So there's validity to all of these areas, except we can't just focus on one or the other. We have to learn how to integrate them. And that's really what the alchemy of wellness is. Now, in another video, I talked about the key element, and the key element being love. When we approach health and wellness through an alchemy, and alchemy, as you know, is a combining of elements, so to speak, to create something even better. It's the sum of the parts, you know. I think that's how it goes. Anyway, but you get what I'm saying. One thing, you know, when you combine everything together, it's actually it's the prize. But you can, you know, one thing might be good, another thing might be good, another thing might be, you know, a little bit better. But when you combine them all, and you combine them in a way that mindfully, I'll just say mindfully combine them, now you can actually create an experience of wellness and create the space of healing, because again, nothing heals the body but the body itself. I realize there's a lot of people talking about finding the cure. Everybody's the race for the cure. We're all looking for a cure. I got news for you. Nobody's going to find a cure. Why? Because, well, now we're almost to 8 billion people on this planet, and we each are walking around with our own individual genome. You know, our genetic system is ours, just like our fingerprints. So even though they can speculate They can, they can create medications, they can create therapies, and they're doing this a lot. I mean, they're studying plants, guys. This is where I come in. And again, if you're new to my channel, let me just to kind of insert here that by trade, I am a phytotherapist and aromacologist. My background includes pharmacology, aromatherapy, the science, the chemistry of food, not supplements, but the chemistry of food, and the ongoing study of plant constituents and their mechanism of action as it relates to human health and drug development. That's a lot to say, but the fact is that is actually where my area of focus is. And so when we're talking about researching for a cure, yes, they are. They're looking, and I believe they're investing a lot of time and money into trying to find something that is going to fix everyone, depending on what you're living with. And while they may come close, there's always going to be changes. And again, not everybody actually responds to medication in the same way. And therefore, and truthfully, for as targeted as medication is, and what I mean by that is, and okay, well, let me just put a pause right there. I'm out. This is not bad-mouthing medications, okay? I'm just basically stating fact, okay? This is not bad-mouthing. This is just a matter of fact. And this is part of where the alchemy of wellness comes in, because when we are aware of these facts, now we can work with the facts, okay? It's not about eliminating and getting rid of and pointing fingers and blaming and shaming and blah, 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 blah. It's none of that. It's just simply a fact, okay? Now, that said, medications are targeted. They're very specific in their mechanism of action, which means they are attempting to control various functions in the body. They're controlling any number of neurotransmitter or hormonal receptors and activities. They control a lot of the way the trace minerals are working. So there's, that would be your sodium, your calcium, your magnesium, your potassium. They are trying to regulate that as well. And in addition to the fact that they actually affect liver enzymes, and the reason for that is because the way the body breaks chemicals down is through liver enzymes, and for either further use by the body or for elimination. Okay, so we recognize this is how it works, and so these are how medications are designed. And because medications are so specific, there is no way in the world, there's no way in hell they are going to be able to heal a body with a medication. Now, okay, but that said, they are also, that is a worthy therapy. It's a worthy remedy to at least incorporate depending on what you're doing. But if our goal is really to be healthy and well, and I want you to realize that the qualification for health it's a subjective thing, because it's not about good or bad health. It's about the quality of health that we are willing to live with. So if you're in a current situation in your health and you're satisfied and you don't feel like doing anything else, well, thanks for watching, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. That's perfect. So quality of health really depends on what you want and what you'll be satisfied with. It's just like if you go to the restaurant and you order, if you come to New Mexico and you order red or green chili and you ask the server which one's hotter or which one has a better, basically the question that always gets asked is which one is hotter. And again, that one actually depends on the season. But to ask the question, is it too hot, or how, is it, where does it fall on the scale of heat? That really depends on the individual, because some people can take a lot of heat and other people cannot. Same thing can be said for health. It really depends on what we're satisfied with. So the first thing to remember is, what are you looking for in your health? Again, if you're satisfied with where you are, thanks for watching. And let me know if you have any questions, and I'm going to continue on. Now, for people who are looking for more in their health, drawing on these various aspects of our existence is essential, and combining them in a way that works together. Okay, so I've already mentioned the way we think, our mindset. Mindset's huge. It's absolutely huge, you guys. If we see problems and we stop at the problem, or we get discouraged by the problem and we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? If we can't find some positive aspect, put a positive spin on what we're experiencing, we're never going to climb out of this hole. Okay, that right there is probably the big factor. So mind-body connection is significant. Again, I realize that there are some people who have health conditions that do improve. There's two reasons for that. I'm going to say my speculation is, number one, their mindset, and number two, their genes, because how their body is wired and how they are responding to the environment around them will determine how well they overcome their situation. So when I'm talking here, I'm not just talking. I'm not trying to. I'm generalizing, but it is very specific. There's a very personalized need. We need to be personalized with our health. Yeah, bio-individualized. I really believe in bio-individualized healthcare or wellness programs because everybody is different and your mindset is huge. So, and I find I run into this a lot with many people because the body will ebb and flow. It's exposed to things at any given moment. I mean, yesterday I remember I was driving behind this car and you could see the person was vaping, big billowing. It wasn't a cigarette. I've seen cigarette smoke kind of filter through a window, but this was a vapor, a vape. You can tell the difference. And the first thing I did was roll my windows up because I don't want to be smelling that stuff. I mean, even though you can't smell it, I don't want to waft those chemicals. And that's just it. The body's not static. We can walk through plumes of chemicals that we don't even know are there because they have no aroma. But yet they're still affecting us. The foods that we eat, again, our emotional stress levels for the day. I mean, so there's any number of variables, and how the individual responds is absolutely unpredictable. Okay, I was talking to someone not too long ago about scientific equations. Well, if you keep in mind, these scientific equations all have variables, right? They all have different letters, and that's because then you can insert different quantities, in for your variables, but depending on what you insert, you're going to get a different result. That's basically what a human being is. We are walking variables, and depending again on how our genome is wired, and then on top of it, what we're exposed to on any given day, the body's going to do what it's going to do. And like I said, I find this a lot, especially with folks who are living with possibly depression. Actually, I do. I see it a lot with depression, anxiety, definitely autoimmune disorders, truthfully, any sort of degenerative and mental emotional instability. I see the fluctuations, and I run up against with people who feel discouraged and think, well, this isn't working. I'm telling you, what you're doing, if you're combining everything, is working. You have to remain positive. So I oftentimes end up being like a sounding board, and then reflecting the positive aspect to what's actually happening, and reminding them that there's something. They may not have changed anything of their routine, but something was different for them. Their body is obviously responding. Keep in mind, the body is not static. So really helping and reframing our mindset. One of the things I thought of earlier is, we talk about this. I hear this all the time, especially on social media. Change your thoughts. You have control of your thoughts. And there's a lot of upbeat, uplifted, and uplifting things out there to remind us of to be positive. So this isn't a new concept. But my question is, how many of us actually really fundamentally believe? See, that's the next one. It's a belief. Do you really believe that your body is capable of taking care of you? If you don't, let me just remind you, you're sitting here watching this. So you're alive, means your body's keeping you alive, and it's doing what it's currently capable of doing. But again, we have to believe. And again, one of the things that I run up against often is I'll talk to people and they will have a very uplifted, positive, when they're presenting their situation to me, they'll be very positive, like, oh yeah, things are going good. And, and they put out this positive, but the second there's a setback. As soon as there's a setback, I get this, well, it's not working. And it's like, I got to rein them back in and just remind them that it is working. And we have to work around this belief system of what, in this context of something's wrong. One of the messages that I get from nature all the time is there's nothing wrong. It is what it is. I mean, and I know there's a lot of people that hate that, but it is what it is. There's no judgment about it. It's not good or bad. It's just, there's an experience, there's a circumstance, and then nature just goes with it. And however it goes is however it goes. And the only thing we truly do have control over is our thoughts. And so when we see our nature going with what it, responding to whatever it's exposed to, our reminder to ourselves needs to be, thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for getting me to this point. Being grateful for the fact that it is actually doing what it can do, given what information it's been getting. So, but this is where the alchemy of wellness comes in, because so we had mindset, we've had belief. I'm checking my little notes here. Integrity is another one. Integrity is a big one, and this is one where we can slip out of integrity. And integrity, put another way, is alignment. When our thoughts, words, and actions are in alignment, that's personal integrity. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. And one good example I have is yesterday I was listening to a radio morning show, and there was a personal trainer on there. He was promoting his new gym or his gym, and talking about encouraging people to sign up for the diamond level, because at that point you get the coaching and you get the accountability and blah, 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 right? And so, but what I thought was fascinating is, and I knew of this, but it just kind of hit me, that I always hear people talking about a cheat day. Well, so such and such a day is my cheat day. And I feel like when we tell ourselves there's a cheat day, we actually feel out of integrity, even though we have to be honest with ourselves. There's a level of integrity that comes along with being well. And I'm not saying don't enjoy some of the things that we have, some of the foods, the junk foods. I'm not saying not to do that. What I'm saying is, don't create this space of cheating. And then because at some point when you get stressed, it may be that you decide, well, I'll just make today my cheat day. And then, I think this is where people start to backslide. And here's the interesting thing. Just like I mentioned earlier, even in autoimmune disorders or any other degenerative diseases, when we see the ebbs and the flows, the relapses and the remissions, or we see the exacerbations of symptoms, the same thing can be said for when you're working out. If you relapse into eating, we were talking about, disordered eating, and I think more people live with it than are admitting to it. So I think having a cheat day kind of takes us out of integrity with what we say we are committed to, which is the next aspect to our existence. And commitment, well, commitment is a big deal, because in my world, there's two types of commitment. There's short-term commitment and there's long-term commitment. And short-term commitment basically means as long as it's fun and going well, I'm in it. But the second something goes awry and it starts to backslide or whatever, I'm out. It's a deal breaker. Okay, that is short-term commitment. Long-term commitment is basically, I'm in this for the long haul. And this is where all these other things, the mindset, the belief system, the integrity, this is where all of this comes in to our up-leveling our experience of health and wellness. So having a commitment be bigger than the commitment to being well, being bigger than your commitment to seeing the problem, just getting stopped by the problem is how I would say that. because we all have different, there's commitments to everything. And I think our first thing needs to be a commitment to ourselves, to be true to ourselves. And if we're looking for good, I should say, a quality of looking to improve our experience of health and wellness, then it's necessary to step into and absolutely commit to a long-term relationship with this experience, because it's going to be a journey. And that's just it. We can't get stopped by a circumstance. It's a journey. We can look at the experience and go, okay, well, let's check this out. I mean, maybe I have a whole big theory about the spiritual aspect of poor health. To me, it's really about redefining our relationship with ourselves. It's really about unraveling the damaging thoughts, the damaging experiences. It's about unraveling our entire belief system, truthfully, is how I see it. And strengthening our relationship to ourselves, because the more that we can be centered and strong within ourselves, the more powerful we are outside in the world. This is where being selfish in order to be selfless comes in. So that long-term commitment to health and allowing the setbacks to be, instead of being just an absolute block, or a slammed door, seeing it as an opportunity, because truthfully, breakdowns are opportunities for breakthroughs. And if we can just look at it for what it is, right? That's what nature is. Just deal with what it is and navigate around it. And realize that possibly I know for a fact it is actually redirecting you to rethink and to shift into a more positive aspect, accepting where you are, loving yourself for where you are. See, now we're back to the key element of having love. So this is where all of this comes in. And if you can only do a short-term commitment to this, okay, that's totally cool too. It's absolutely fine. Just keep in mind that unless we can integrate all of these, and I'm going to get to the more substantial ones. Well, these actually I feel like are pretty substantial. These are heavy hitters when it comes to the rest of the stuff. But when if all we want to do is just one thing at a time and try it out, that's totally cool. Like I said, if your level of commitment is short term, and if you don't want to deal with the breakdowns and all you're looking for is symptom relief, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. When I promote and talk about what I talk about, I don't expect everybody to jump on the bandwagon. I'm just offering this as an opportunity to actually step into a different level of health and wellness, primarily because, well, number one, everybody deserves to feel good. And number two, I want our children to learn a different way, because truthfully, we're just basically raising them, grooming them to work until they die. And with 2 suicides, celebrity suicides this week alone, and I realize that's mental health, but that's a big deal, because mental health affects the physical health and vice versa. It's all connected. So I think it's time we teach our children a different way, other than just go to school, get involved in a relationship, get a job, and then be ready to get sick, because old age is going to, as you get older, you're just going to deteriorate until you die. That is not a life to look forward to. And I'm really tired of that being the message that's being conveyed, truthfully. And so a lot of what I do here is to, again, offer an opportunity for us as adults to up-level our self-care so that we can teach our children, model this for our children. In fact, if I were to sum up everything, and I just want to say this, I want to put this right here, and then I'll go into the other stuff. But if I were to sum up the alchemy of wellness, it's self-care and self-love. Self-care, self-love, boom, baby. You're on the road to wellness. But those two things are absolutely necessary. So far, everything I've talked about, commitment, mindset, belief, integrity, all of those things are about self-love. The self-care component is our lifestyle. That could be your medications, that could be your exercise, that could be your supplements, obviously your diet. And as I mentioned earlier, this chemistry of food is significant for me. There was a point in time, years ago that people used to talk about medications depleting nutrients from the body. I used to believe that until all of the research that I'm doing, and I don't think that's the case at all. A large part of my work is based in what the body is doing in relationship to the world outside of itself. So there's a lot of happening inside of us based on our own physiological needs, just function, our physiological function. So there's a lot happening already on the inside, and then you've got all this other stuff coming in. So there's a direct relationship to the external world that is also influencing our internal world. And so this dynamic will stress the body. I mean, stress, truthfully, is a protection mechanism. Chronic stress, not so much. Goes into survival mode. And then basically all of us are living in chronic survival mode. And so when you take a medication, it's when you're trying to control the body, because remember earlier I said medication is about control. So when you're trying to control the body, you're actually stressing the system. Keep in mind, you can stress a plant, right? And you can make it do different things. You can make it grow different ways. I mean, so stress has its advantages because all it does is create adaptation. This is actually how we've survived so many significant epidemics like the Black Plague. Because the body is able to adapt under pressure. That's what it does. But when we're taking these medications and we're in this ongoing survival mode, ongoing stress, systemic stress, adapting, it's altering the way we break down our food. So it's not necessarily that they deplete nutrients. It's more along the lines that they interfere or they alter the way nutrients are used. That's how I want to say it. They alter the way nutrients are used. That said, it means you need to be doing something in order to help improve the assimilation of nutrients. And this is where essential oils come in. I've talked about it for many, many years. I just realized I shook my head no, and I meant yes. I have talked about them for many, many years. I have scores of people kind of get tired of me talking about oils, and when they approach me with a question, they know I'm going to bring up oils, and they don't want to buy oils from me. They don't want, they have their own source, or that's fine. That's totally their options. But the interesting thing is that we want to go for a pill. Pills are easier. We believe in the pills. We've been trained again. If we swallow a pill, it's going to make a difference. But if we put something on the skin and we just breathe it, it doesn't make a difference. And I'm here to tell you, you are breathing more crap than you realize, and it is affecting your health. And so if you really want to override all of the environmental trauma that's occurring from the medications and the additives in our food and so forth, get some essential oils, get some bio-individual blends. Yeah, that's actually what I call it. They're bio-individualized blends. I used to call them custom blends, but they're not. They're custom doesn't cover it. They're bio-individual because oils have their own properties, and yes, they do share similar properties, but it's how, number one, you create the synergy from the blends, and number two, specifically what's going on with the individual. So you've got to take all those factors into it. But the reason I advocate for the oils is, number one, they do provide symptom relief. If there's medications involved, they do offer stability to the system. When you do bio-individual essential oil blends, you are not duplicating the mechanism of action. This is where, this is the distinct difference between what I do and what other people do, which is they just create blends, and there's a lot of just general blends out there, but they're duplicating the mechanism of action of the medications and potentially interacting with the medications at the liver enzyme level. So we have to be aware of all of these things. But when we are, we can bring stability. We can enhance nutrient assimilation. The oils do not contain nutrients, but they have the ability to regulate cell function and, in fact, override a lot of the man-made chemicals. And because nature has an undeniable way of recognizing natural. And I don't care, again, how many times somebody tells you that. If you look up the compounds of medication, they're called organic compounds. Organic, you guys, is just a marketing term. It's called organic because they took typically inorganic compounds, combined them to make something that replicated an organic compound. That's what organic chemistry is about when we talk about when they're making medications. Sometimes they might, but I mean, that's actually how organic chemistry came into being, is when they were able to recreate urea in a lab by using inorganic compounds to create urea, which is an organic compound, hence the birth of organic. But like I said, organic means in in my world, in my mind, and it makes sense that organic means it's just an unfoldment, right? There's life to it. Okay, it has there's a life to it. It has an I want to say influence, but we know medication has an influence, but there is a life, there's a vibrancy, there's an energy to it that is more than what we see. So that's what makes things organic. I love how a lot of these products out there on the market these days are allowed to have the word organic on the label, but it's not 100% organic. There's only a certain percentage of the ingredients are organic. Everything else might be added chemicals, but it still can say organic, so beware. So what I'm getting at, though, is when you use essential oils, you are actually enhancing cell communication. You're improving nutrient assimilation. And so when you combine it with medications in a mindful way, you can actually create stability and reduce that stress response that's occurring and start to turn the body into a mode of thriving, which is very important. Now, that said, again, there's exercise in this mode of self-care. Okay, this is the component of alchemy, that's self-care. So you've got your lifestyle, which includes your medications, your nutrients, your supplements, which I don't advocate for a lot of supplements. If you want to know why, please ask me. Feel free to email me, Tammy@synergessence.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @TammyDavis8 on both. That is where, I'm happy to answer some, or you can comment here. I would love for you to share this video, subscribe, comment. I would love to be able to answer your questions if you want to know, my thoughts on some of these supplements, because basically the nutraceuticals that we have available to us are biotechnology. They're a product of biotechnology, which means they're being made in labs also. And there's a lot of ingredients that are being added to it that are meant to activate certain experiences in the body, but they're not necessarily doing much good other than attempting to override what we think is a dysfunction. Hear me out. The body's not dysfunctional. Again, this comes back into mindset and how you look at something, but it's not dysfunctional. It is functioning. If it weren't functioning, you wouldn't be watching this. So we have to shift out of dysfunction and realizing that we do not have to override any dysfunction. If we actually assist it with stability and help and actually work with the whole system, now the level of function is improved. So your self-care, it does include your supplementation. It does include diet. I do believe in intentional nutrition, intentional eating. That doesn't necessarily mean going on a low histamine, or gluten-free. I'm not talking about that kind of intentional. I'm talking about eating specific foods because of the nutrients that they contain, such as good sources of B vitamins, good sources of amino acids, that sort of thing. So there's a level of intentional nutrition that, when compared with essential oils, does wonders for enhancing our experience of health and wellness. So again, if we're going to talk about the foundation of the alchemy of wellness, it's self-love and self-care. The components under self-love include commitment, belief, mindset, and integrity. When we look at self-care, we're talking basically about our lifestyle, which includes our stress relief practices, our exercise, I should say our physical activity. I would rather say that, because I'm not, saying you need to go out there and run miles. It's just making sure to include a level of physical activity that suits your body, okay? Don't be going out there to try to look like and compare yourself to other people, all right? Your body does well with what you know, when you can get done doing something and you actually feel alive, you know, or you feel fulfilled, you know, where it's just like, then do it. That's what you want to do. So your your self-care includes, I'll rewind this. Self-care includes your medications, your supplements if you're taking those, your level of physical activity and stress relief, your diet, thereby being intentional nutrition, and the inclusion of essential oils. With hands down, we all need to be using essential oils, but we need to be using them in a way that supports everything that we're going through right now. You know, I find myself in more conversations with people because they're blown away because I'll tell them, for instance, don't eat flax seeds. Okay. The reason for that is because flax is very high in phytoestrogens. Phytoestrogens do act like estrogen in the body, which we realize flax is good for us. Okay. But at the same time, if we are living at this elevated level of stress, believe it or not, estrogen actually is involved in the stress response. It is a major signaling molecule in that. So why in the world would we want to be adding estrogen to our body? This goes for both men and women. Estrogen is a major signaling molecule that activates the immune system and the stress response. Okay, it sets the whole ball going. So another really interesting one is marijuana, you know, cannabis. There's this big push for people to smoke pot, you know, medical marijuana, legalize it, whatever. Again, I'm not advocating, I'm not pro or con, that's not the point. But pot smoking or pot itself actually has phytoestrogens in them. And we already have a high level of hormonal imbalances. So learning how to, if that's something you want to do, if that's part of your lifestyle, okay. But include things into your, you know, learn how to include oils in your diet in a way that actually helps to level off that hormonal imbalance and kind of help restore some stability to the system so that we can, again, experience an enhanced sense of health and wellness. So, yeah, so I mean, again, we have a lot of things that we know to be good for us. And part of the reason why I'm very particular about the bio-individualization of essential oil use is because some of those act like estrogen in the body. Other ones actually have direct effect on various liver enzymes, and other ones have a direct effect on neurotransmitters. And when you've got medications working in there, you can't be duplicating that. You've got to know how to mix them up so that you get the best result and you actually experience transforming your life from lead into gold. All right, thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Share, subscribe, like, comment, hit me up with questions, and follow me. I look forward to interacting with you. Thanks.